Welcome to My Forever Home, the podcast. I'm Frances Cosway and I've helped hundreds of people create forever homes. I know firsthand how different it is creating a forever home rather than a house you plan to flip in a few years' time. I believe your forever home should reflect what you love and suit your lifestyle rather than being about trends and resale value. You're creating a home for you and your family, not anyone else. So I'm here to help and guide you along the way. I'm going to share all there is to know about creating a quality forever home that's functional, sustainable, future-proof and adaptable to your family's changing needs so it's multi-generational. We don't do cheap and nasty here. We're about creating things to last. It is your forever home after all. I want to help you gain the knowledge you need to be planned and prepared to create the forever home of your dreams. I can't wait to share the journey with you, so let's start. Hello and welcome to this episode of the My Forever Home podcast. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the difference between concept plans and internal elevations. And the reason I'm doing that is because we've had a lot of inquiries very recently actually with regards to concept plans, which is a service and something that we do for our clients. And then also the questions that are coming from people around what is the difference and why would I have a concept plan or why would I have internal elevation? So I thought, what a great opportunity for me to explain what the difference is so that you can understand for yourself. Do you need concept plans, and how do concept plans and internal elevations work and feed into each other? It's not actually one or the other that you would actually be having. It is both in conjunction and working together to get you the design outcome that you desire. So let me kick off with concept plans. Now, these are a very high level indication of your design direction. So they provide an overview of what the design outcome could be. So it's looking at spaces and rooms. So for example, a concept design would show you where the kitchen would be located, where the walk-in pantry may be located, where all the different spaces and rooms within your home. What's the allocation of space that is being carved out within the footprint of the home for that particular space? What's the size of it? And what's the allocation? Where is that room or that space within the floor plan? So you can think of it, it is a floor plan. So it's often high level overview of, let's call it the big picture of what the design layout of your space is going to be. Now, what we would do as part of our process is once that concept plan is signed off and we agree that yes, that space allocated for the kitchen is adequate and we like where it's located within the footprint of the home. As an example, I'm just using the kitchen as an example. So once that concept plan has been signed off, then we move to the detail, and that's where the internal elevations come into play. Now, concept plans can be done for a complete new home, and you may have an architect that does that. We've been working very recently and have worked on many homes where we're working on an extension or recreating and reconfiguring the spaces that are currently there, and then creating a concept plan for that particular space, that area of the home. So for example, the one that we're working on at the moment has been an extension, so extending the footprint of the home, in this instance to square it off. And then what would be the layout then? How do we take the current, and we're effectively then working with a new, in this instance, it was a rectangle. So we're squaring the home off. We've got this big space now, and how are we going to reconfigure all the spaces that need to go into that area? So where will the new kitchen be located? Where will the second living room be located? Where are the new doors and windows and all of those things located? So that's the concept plan. Now that has now been signed off, and so now we're working on the internal elevations. So just let me go back for 1 second about that concept plan. So this is where, as a designer, whoever's doing that for you needs to understand your big picture goals. So going back to the example of our current client at the moment, it was understanding the restrictions and the frustrations with their current kitchen, not only the location, but the configuration, but also the inadequacy of the storage and the prep areas. So understanding the big picture then enabled the concept plan to be developed around the big picture requirements. So a bigger kitchen, a larger prep area, a space for double ovens, if possible, having a walk-in pantry if space allowed. So a concept is the bigger picture, if you think about it like that. When we get into the internal elevations, we're then getting into the nitty gritty and what I like to call we're putting the meat on the bone. So we're getting into the design detail. And so to be able to do that part of the design, we need to really understand storage requirements, how you're going to use the space, functionality requirements, if there's going to be 2 people, for example, working in that kitchen. So this is where, because we need to put the meat on the bones, we need to understand in a lot more detail what are the very specific requirements for those individual spaces within the concept plan. So internal elevations are when you're looking at a plan front on. So a concept plan, a floor plan, is going to be an aerial view, and internal elevations is actually where you're looking at it front on. What does that look like if you're looking at that wall? Normally speaking, you'd have 4 internal elevations per room, 1 for each wall, depending on what's going on that wall. But as a rule of thumb, you'd have a wall, an internal elevation, a drawing for each wall. Now that's going to show things like the detailed joinery design. For us, it'll also show things like PowerPoint locations so that you can actually see how the space can be used and that they're not an afterthought when there actually is going to go to get to build stage. It'll also show detail like, profile of cabinetry, any handles that may be used, or you might have a finger pull design on your cabinetry. What's the extent of the splashback and what is the splashback going to be? So the tile layout and so forth. And also in bathrooms and things. I just keep referring back to a kitchen in the example for this illustration. So all the detail is going to come out in the internal elevations. But the other thing that the internal elevations are also going to highlight is things like window size, location, height. Once you get into the detail of the internal elevations and we're doing cabinetry and so forth, we can actually ascertain and determine whether the windows that are in the concept design are actually going to work with the internal elevations. That's often forgotten about, the impact of doing the detailed design with the internal elevations and how it can actually affect the window location, size, and so forth, because it has an impact on the type of cabinetry you can have. It can have an impact on the furniture layout. And so when we're getting into this detailed design, that is when we're able to determine and finalize things like window heights, sizes, and so forth. I'll actually go back to another example to explain the impact and how important it is around your windows coming out in the internal elevations. So we had a client in the Blue Mountains that had pretty much finalised their design, their concept design, when we were engaged to do the internal elevations. And they had a really big picture window in their kitchen, which was beautiful, gorgeous location, get a beautiful vista. But what they didn't understand was the impact that really big picture window would have on their kitchen design. And so what it ultimately meant was we were not able to have cabinetry above that window because it was a very high window, very wide. We couldn't have cabinetry above. And it also meant that we really couldn't have cabinetry on either side of the window because it would just look wrong. So in consultation with the clients, we explained the impact of the window and that we could obviously work around it, but they needed to understand the impact of the storage limitations that it would provide. And understanding the clients and how storage was of premium for them, we had to explain the knock-on effect of retaining the window in its current size. And so after conversations of the advantages and disadvantages, which is obviously what we go through with our clients, they made a conscious decision to change the window size so that we were able to factor in overhead cabinetry, so that we could have overhead cabinetry where the picture window was. And we were able then to create a splashback window instead. So yes, it had an impact on the vista externally, but then they had to weigh up, obviously with conversations with us, they had to weigh up then what was going to be more important, what was going to be the lesser of the compromise for them, for their lifestyle and their requirements in terms of whether they retain that picture window or not. So when we get into this detailed design element of the design process with the internal elevations, when we're getting into the nitty gritty, these are the sorts of things and the impact of decisions, what we go through with our clients. So I wanted to illustrate that to you, and it's happened many, many times with clients, but I wanted to illustrate just why it's so important to consider the internal elevations. We're looking at the internals, not the impact of external walls necessarily. As much we're focusing on the internal, but we're looking at the impact of some of the structural elements and the windows as we're doing those internal elevations. Now, we can make all these changes on paper, which is ideally when you want to be doing it and not making these changes on site. Oh, I didn't realize that we weren't able to have overhead cabinetry. We better change the windows size and height and everything else. That's an expensive thing to do, an expensive process, and you may not even have a builder that's prepared to do that at such a late stage. So on paper, it's so much better to be able to do that and have those conversations with the experts at the time rather than waiting till you get on site. So the other thing that we're doing at internal elevation stage that we're not doing at concept stage are details around appliance location. They may be denoted on the concept plan, but when we're getting into the nitty-gritty design and the requirements and the functionality requirements for those design spaces, designing those spaces like the kitchen, things like the exact location of the appliance and the exact appliances that you're going to be using are going to be factored into those drawings. So it's different than just allocating a fridge space or allocating where a stove might go. It might only be a 600 cooktop. You might be wanting an 800 or a 900 cooktop. So all of those details are coming out in the joinery design, the internal elevations. And so you can hopefully that's allowing you to understand then that we're talking about two very different things when we're talking about concept design, big picture, and internal elevations, where we're talking about the detail and the meat on the bones in terms of how these spaces going to be intricately designed around your very, very specific requirements, functionality, and then of course working together to get the best design outcome for you with regards to all the other things that it's impacting. So hopefully that's helped you understand the difference and why internal elevations are a very different process to concept design and how they feed into each other. They feed into each other very beautifully, but you can't really have one without the other. Of course, any questions, you're always able to contact me and let me know. You can always book a chat with me if you're a bit confused further around what's going to be the right thing for you. You may have enough meat on the bones. You may have enough big picture that's been laid out for you, and now you need to get into the intricate parts of the design, or it may be that you have got this space that can be completely reconfigured to work harder for you. That would then initially be done with a concept design. And every project is different. Every home is different. So if you are unsure, by all means, book a chat with me. Link is always in the show notes. You can always find that on the website really easily as well. Always happy to work through what's going to be the best next step, best solution for you. Excuse my dog in the background. He's loved very much, but he's incredibly annoying with his barking because he is a Jack Russell. Very difficult to stop a Jack Russell barking. So, as always, hopefully that's been helpful. Book a chat with me if you need to. Filling up fast because we're getting towards the end of the year. It's a great time now to start thinking about how you're going to hit the ground running in 2025. So if you know it's sort of something that's already on your mind, book an initial consult or a chat with me just to get the wheels in motion so that you can hit the ground running in 2025. That's it from me today. Have a super week, and I'll see you you'll hear me at the next podcast. Bye for now.
If you're ready to renovate or build your forever home, you're in the right place. Here are some ways to gain further inspiration or how we can work together. Book a chat with me so we can discuss your project in more detail and see how we may be able to assist you with one of our fixed price packages. You can book a chat with me directly at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au/chat. If you're after some peace of mind that your floor plan is as good as it can be, for a small investment, a floor plan sanity check could be just what you need. I review your plans as that second set of professional eyes, ensuring it's functional, flexible, and future-proof for lasting peace of mind. This can save you thousands in structural changes down the track. You can find out more and book directly at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au. And if you'd like to get your hands on some reading material, unlock your dream home and dive into our first ever magazine, Creating Your Forever Home. It's packed with expert insights, stunning visuals, and practical advice on building your forever home. Grab your copy and be inspired now. You can also access the first 3 chapters of my book, Your Forever Home, a practical and helpful guide to gain insights on how to create a home that will suit your needs for the long term. Everything is available at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au/links. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of My Forever Home. If you loved it, please leave a review, share it on Facebook and Instagram for your friends, and be sure to sign up to our newsletter for more insights on creating the forever home of your dreams. If you're really ready to get started, you can book a chat with me via the website whitepebbleinteriors.com.au or check out our online courses designed to provide a clear framework for you at myforeverhome.com. If you've got a question, be sure to get in touch at podcast@myforeverhome.com. Have a great day.